My claim is that Pattaya is not dying. It's changing. The problem is that not everyone is changing with it. I don't know if it's allowed to film inside, but I try to get some good pictures. Maybe it's not. Oof. It's very hot in the market because it's under it's just hot in there. I've been there so many times and it's just really hot. So let's see if I survive this one. Wish me luck. There's a lot of people here on YouTube and other places like Facebook saying that Pattaya's traditional open-air beer bar scene is slowly dying. And I have to admit, whether it is high season or low season, you simply don't see the same flow of customers that you used to. People give all kinds of reasons for this. Bar fines, lady drinks, have become more expensive. The service ladies have become more selective. The beer bar concept hasn't really developed. And some people also tell you that the general quality and atmosphere simply aren't what it used to be. Are these people just grumpy old men complaining about Pattaya? Well, maybe. But I have to admit that I recognize quite a lot of what they are saying. Something has changed. Pattaya has changed, whether we want to admit it or not. And the funny thing is that they keep building more and more beer bar complexes, even though tourists don't seem particularly interested in this product anymore. Sometimes I actually find it a little depressing walking through these places. Bar after bar, with more staff than customers. Even Tree Town can sometimes look like a ghost town. Personally, I have never really been attracted to these big beer bar complexes. I've always preferred individual bars and smaller closed-door clubs. Oh, there's a lot of fish here, and almost all of the fish are alive. So I'll show you, even the big fish are alive. No? And prices are definitely part of the story. I remember open beer bars where the bar fines used to be around 300 baht. Now you can sometimes see 1,000 baht. Other types of establishment I used to visit have gone from about 1,000 to about 1,500 baht. And eventually you reach a point where people either stop going or simply go less. And I also noticed another change over the last couple of years. The service ladies have become much more selective. And before somebody gets angry in the comments, of course they should be able to choose who they want to spend time with. 100%. But there is another side to this. Well, now I got 1 kilo of shrimp. Let's see if something else is interesting. You can walk into a bar with maybe 6 service ladies. 5 of them are what I would call fairly average. And then there is, the one who immediately gets everyone's attention. Of course, every customer notices the same person. And I have watched guys buy drink after drink to get her attention, only eventually to realize that the interest simply isn't mutual. I remember one particular situation in a bar around LK Metro. A guy had been buying drinks for one of the ladies for quite some time. Eventually it became obvious that she wasn't particularly interested in spending more time with him, and he left disappointed. A little later she came over and started talking to me, and it became pretty obvious that there hadn't really been any misunderstanding. She simply wasn't interested in that particular customer. And that is completely her choice. But I'm sure quite a few of you that are watching have had experienced something similar. The problem isn't somebody saying no. Everybody has that right. The problem is when a customer continues spending money because he thinks there is some mutual interest when there really isn't. And I think this has become more noticeable because of the ladies who attract the most attention obviously have a lot of options. They can pick and choose, and again, good for them. My advice is very simple. If you're interested in spending more time with someone, find out relatively early whether the interest goes both ways before buying 10 lady drinks. Or maybe talk to some of the ladies who are not getting all of the attention.
Hello
Hello
สวัสดีครับ
สวัสดีครับ
อ๋อได้แล้วเหรอ โอเคปลาหมึกไปย่างก็ได้ Olive fry barbecue
Oh yeah, yeah.
Sweet
I don't like. I tried. I don't like. Maybe she's a little older. Maybe she doesn't look like a model. Maybe she isn't the person everyone noticed when they walk through the door. But she might actually be friendly, funny, or generally interested in talking to you. And you might end up having a much better evening. And this is where gentlemen's clubs enter the picture. Gentlemen clubs ain't new in Pattaya, of course, but there are a lot more of them now. Around Soi Bangkok, for example, their number seems to have grown massively over the last couple of years. There are some in central Pattaya, but the development becomes much more obvious when you move towards places like Pratumnak and Jomtien. And that makes sense. Rent is cheaper outside the center. But why have these clubs become so popular? Well, the obvious answer are price, privacy, and more relaxed atmosphere. They are smaller, quieter, and often feel more personal than the big beer bar complexes. But are there a downside? Absolutely. The staff in these clubs are often a little older than what you might find in some of the more expensive venues in central Pattaya. And let's be fair, you are probably not going there because this has the most glamorous staff in town. But maybe that doesn't matter as much as people think. Because for a lot of older customers, a relaxed atmosphere, friendly staff, reasonable prices and realistic expectations might be much more attractive than spending a fortune trying to compete for attention in central Pattaya. And this is where I think something interesting is happening. Central Pattaya is increasingly becoming attractive to what I call the 2 weeks millionaires. A slightly younger crowd who still earn good money back home, come here for 2 weeks and ain't particularly worried about spending. Meanwhile, Pattaya may slowly be pushing part of its traditional older customer base away from the center. There are obviously still good places for, the older tourists, but I think there are fewer of them now. And that could explain why more older guys are choosing Jomtien and Pratumnak and, the similar clubs outside central Pattaya. Some might even decide Thailand isn't worth it anymore. And here's the strange part. Pattaya seems to be pushing some of it, the older customers away, while continuing to build bar concepts that younger customers don't particularly want either. How many guys in their 20s or 30s dream about spending their holidays sitting in a giant traditional beer bar complex? Probably not that many. Only a few places seem to be trying to modernize the concept a little. You can see examples of that in, around size 7. So maybe Pattaya nightlife isn't dying. Maybe the customer are simply changing. And maybe gentlemen's clubs are growing because they understand one part of Pattaya's traditional customer base better than the beer bar complexes do. Maybe the future isn't bigger bars, maybe it's smaller places lower overheads, reasonable prices, and more personal atmosphere. Anyway, that's enough complaining from me. I still think Pattaya is a great fun. It's super fun. And for me at least, it's still better than the alternatives like Vietnam and Cambodia. But I would really like to hear what you think. Is the traditional Pattaya beer bar dying? Have prices simply become too high? Are gentleman clubs taking over part of the market? Or are we all just becoming grumpy old men? Let me know in the comments.